With the plethora of injuries that the Mets bullpen has sustained in 2025, it's time for the Mets and David Stearns to make a big splash in the bullpen market at this MLB trade deadline for a high leverage reliever to pair alongside Edwin Diaz for the second half. Before we fully get into which team the Mets can definitely trade with to make this happen and who the trade target is, please spam those thumbs up buttons on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new to the True Mets Talk podcast and are just coming over here with this video. Make sure to subscribe and not miss out on any future MLB trade deadline content, as well as all the pregame and postgame streams that we are going to be doing in the second half. And comment your thoughts and opinions. Do you like this trade target that we're going to be talking about? Do you see a trade for this target happening? And Ryan Helsley was thought of as an elite closer, a borderline top 5 closer with the numbers that he posted in a Cardinals uniform last season. Over 66 innings pitched with an ERA just over 2. Walks and hits per innings pitched were really respectable at 1.10. The strikeout rate was definitely above average, just under 30%. And for a guy that has an electric arm, and we'll get into the pitches that he utilizes on a consistent basis, his walk rate last season was not that high, hovering around league average. But as you can tell with the numbers to my left, all in red, this year has been not the best year for Ryan Helsley. Definitely not to the standards of what he posted last season. And there would be some expectations of drop off, especially how well he did last season. But there are some concerning numbers in the 2025 campaign in the first half for Ryan Helsley thus far. I will say that he did have an abysmal month of June, so that month definitely skewed some of his numbers and elevated them, but he has since gotten back on track, especially leading up to the All-Star break, and he is posting respectable numbers in the month of July. And therefore, it begs the question, will teams be enticed to give up a decent trade package for the likes of Ryan Helsley in order for him to come into the organization and make a difference in the back end of the bullpen and potentially take off on a World Series contending team? You can see this season, he is just over, I should say, 30 innings pitched, and the ERA is up to 3.27. But other than that, the more concerning metrics outside of the ERA are the walks and hits per innings pitched, and that's thanks to an increase in walk rate going from 8.6 last season all the way up to 9.7 this season. And you don't see on the screen here, but coupled with the decrease in strikeout percentage going down from 29.7 last season all the way to just over 24%, his hard hit rate has also increased per his Baseball Savant page. And you can see a lot more of the metrics to my left. He still gets a lot of swing and miss. He still gets a lot of chase, as you can tell with these bars, these red bars. That is his strength. But he's walking hitters at a more consistent clip, and opposing hitters are also hitting the baseball harder off of him this season. Have they figured him out, or have they not figured him out? And something that's a little bit unusual this season for Ryan Helsley is his reverse splits, so to speak. Right-handed hitters are having a lot more success off of him than left-handed hitters. And he is a right-handed pitcher. Again, a fiery pitcher. The fastball is up to 99, maybe even upwards of 100 miles per hour if he decides to rear back and really throw it. But righties are having that advantageous matchup. They're hitting 270 versus the left-handed hitting counterparts only hitting 250, but the OPS metrics are the biggest indicator of those reverse splits. But let's get into his arsenal, because there is one pitch that he throws, and that's the curveball. Last year, it was over 6%. This year, it's only at 5%. And that curveball has been giving him a lot of troubles. He is fooling nobody with that curveball, albeit he's only throwing it for 5% of the time, and he doesn't rely on it nearly as often as the slider and the four-seamer. That curveball and having that tertiary pitch could definitely, if you can get that pitch right in the second half, be an indicator of success moving forward for any team that decides to acquire him. Now, is he even on the trade market? There's a lot of conflicting reports about what the St. Louis Cardinals are really going to do, because as the Diamondbacks are, and we posted the video about the blockbuster trade proposal yesterday on the channel. If you missed that video, go check it out down below. I'll link it in the description. This is a team that is definitely in the wild card race, right? they're probably not going to win the NL Central because the NL Central has the Cubs and the Brewers at the top right now, and they're probably not going to relinquish that status in the NL Central. But they're only 1.5 games out of a wild card berth. Are the Cardinals front office personnel fooled with this first half and being this close to a wild card spot? Are they going to decide to not trade their main pieces and go after some key pieces and add instead of being sellers? I don't think so. And there's a lot of speculation specifically surrounding Helsley because he's still regarded as a very talented reliever that has upside to be a closer, and he is on an expiring deal. Even given the statistics, especially if he lowers these numbers, he is going to get a very big contract extension and probably a multi-year deal with whoever he ends up with, whether he's staying with the Cardinals or whether he goes elsewhere. And I'm just not sure that the Cardinals have the bandwidth, and I'm not sure that they're ready to compete enough right now to give him the multi-year extension that he wants. And at that point for the New York Mets, you would have an option if Helsley takes off and if Edwin Diaz opts out, because that is an option for Edwin Diaz. He's having a fantastic season yet again. All-star Edwin Diaz. If he opts out, the Mets could then pivot their attention to any other closer on the market or just look to extend Ryan Helsley if they were to acquire him. But clearly, he is a pitcher that relies heavily on his slider and four-seam fastball. I told you the elevation of opposing hitters' numbers against his curveball, but if he is throwing that slider properly, right, and to its full capability alongside that 99 to 100 mile per hour fastball as his secondary pitch, he is going to take off, and those June numbers that elevated his statistics are going to be a thing of the past, essentially. So what would it take for the Mets to acquire a guy like Ryan Helsley? I don't think it would take too much. Of course, they're going to have to give up something. The Cardinals are not just going to let him go for essentially free. They need some talent in return. This is my proposed trade package for a guy like Ryan Helsley. The Mets receive Helsley. They put him in the back end of the bullpen. Obviously, Ryan Stanek is struggling, and Edwin Diaz needs some help. You'll have Jose Butto coming back, Brooks Raley coming back, and even if you make this move, you'll still need one more reliever, probably more so a middle inning reliever than a late inning reliever, because that's what Ryan Helsley is. But you're going to have to give up something, and the Cardinals desperately lack outfield talent, especially MLB ready outfield talent. They're a team full of infielders right now, and their top 10 prospects have minimal, if any, outfield talent. And this is where Drew Gilbert could be a huge asset for the New York Mets, alongside an MLB ready pitcher, so to speak, in Dom Hamill, who we saw in spring training, didn't have a good spring training, a little bit of elevated numbers for Dom Hamill, who is still a Mets top 30 prospect right now until the midseason rankings come out. But Dom Hamill is struggling in AAA. At one time, he really took off in Double-A Binghamton, posting a 3.85 ERA back in 2023. With the change of scenery, change of organization, perhaps Dom Hamill, who is 26 years old, can make a difference at some level for that organization. But the headliner here is Drew Gilbert. And I'll tell you why, Mets fans. I know that you all are thinking, no way I'm giving a top 10 prospect to the Cardinals for a guy that has elevated stats in 2025. First of all, you'd have to bank on Ryan Helsley going back to the form of 2024 version of himself, right, and getting those numbers down. But also, Carson Bench. Don't forget about Carson Bench. A lot of people are talking about the Mets center field situation right now. Do we really think that Drew Gilbert, the Mets are going to bring up Drew Gilbert and he's going to make an immediate impact in this second half for the New York Mets? And Carson Bench recently got the promotion to Double-A, where he's hitting over 300. He is the prized Mets prospect in the outfield, especially to potentially take over the starting center field job in whether it's next season or the year after that, depending on when he is actually ready. So top 10 prospect, number 9, Drew Gilbert, and a top 30 prospect. I think Dom Hamill's around 26 or 27 in the Mets organization in exchange for Ryan Helsley. Let me know in the comments section. Are you doing this trade, Mets fans? Who says no? Do the Cardinals say no to this trade, or do the Mets, giving up Drew Gilbert as the top 10 prospect. Let me know in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up, and until the next trade target video or stream, I'll see you all later. Let's go Mets.